So this is the jack I'm going to use to lift up the treehouse. I got off to an auspicious start this morning. When I borrowed the jack from my dad, this is exactly how it came. Well, it actually came in that plastic bag, but this is exactly how it came. So I needed to pick up a pipe to use to pump it up and lower it. So I measured the inside of this receiver piece, and it's a little cone shaped, and this outside edge measures somewhere between 3/4 and 7/8. So I figured I'll pick up a length of 3/4 inch pipe, and then you see down here there's this little knob, grind a slot in the knob so it'll slide over this and I can twist it to lower it, and I'll be good to go. So this morning I went to the hardware store, I picked up this nice length of 3/4 inch pipe. I got a 3-foot length because that gave me plenty of mechanical advantage to pump it. Shouldn't be that hard. And I came to realize 3/4 inch nominal isn't anywhere close to 3/4 inch. This pipe is closer to 1 1/4 OD than it is 3/4 inch OD. So now I'm back from a second trip to the hardware store. I got a piece of 1/2 inch pipe, and that 1/2 inch pipe fits in pretty nicely. It will fit over this. I need to now cut the slots on the side of the grinder, but that'll take me a minute. And then we're going to go out and try to lift a treehouse with this thing. Here's the site for today. That's what the treehouse looks like. These 4x6s thankfully make a suitable storage shelf, if not workbench proper. And the task now is to take this corner and lift it up. I've spent the better part of the day jacking this thing up. I've had 3 minor collapses because the work platform, which you'll see on its side right now, is not all that steady as it's interfered with by the roots. This pile here of 2x4s was holding this piece up, and what I've been doing is sliding the piece up, throwing a 2x4 up, and supporting it that way. This leans against the tree as I use that jack to jack this post up, and then I break the jack down, shimmy the whole thing up, because the jack only raises it up about 4 inches per pumping, and then I have to reconfigure the whole thing. We had reached a point where this bolt, which should be here, even with this in the bottom, was say about here, about halfway down the 2x8, and now we've collapsed again, and this is arguably as low as it has ever been, because this support has completely come down, though I believe that is actually holding the weight. And this piece I was in the process of resting on there, so you can see how far it's fallen. The height of all those 2x4s, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 26, so like 30-ish inches. You can see how poorly I can do math in my head as I'm talking. But it's fallen about 30 inches or so in this last round. And we're back to square one. So I think I'm going to take this as a sign to take a break, go get some hydraulic fluid because the jack is desperately in need of it, and then we'll reassess the situation when I get back. Not missing much by my not filming this, other than it tippling over on me about 3 or 4 times. Finally I learned my lesson, and this top piece is attached with a screw which stops it from coming down on top of me, and this bottom brace is short against the tree. I'm not sure why I didn't think of that sooner. but that has made it dramatically more stable. So now I'm finally at the point where I'm raising it to a thickness of 2 2x each pump. I get it about halfway there, I slide a 2x underneath this piece, get it the rest of the way, slide the next 2x, then lower it, pull the jack out, attach the next 2 2x8s here, and start the whole process again. As you can see, there is the original bolt hole, and that bolt hole needs to be even with the remnants of this bolt. So about 8 inches to go, but basically as close as I got before the catastrophe, and this run has been good so far, so hopefully the next video will have it at the right height. So I'm finally there. See this delightful contraption I had to build at the bottom as we went up and up and up to support the jack, and you'll see that's not the jack I started with. I ended up replacing the jack halfway through. This 2x8 right here is actually not touching. It's I don't know, about a 1/4 inch or so gap there, so the jack is still under pressure, but right now it's at the height I want, and you can see how this bolt here is roughly even with that bolt here. That was a bolt that didn't end up getting used in the treehouse, but it's at the right height. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to screw 2 2x4s together and make a temporary leg like that one you see out there, or this little one, and this new leg will go from here all the way down to the to that plate down there, and hopefully that'll take the weight of it. So that's the plan right now, is to assemble that and get that in place, and we'll see how that goes. Well, this will make it a Sunday. I was hoping to get these big 4x6s in, but after fighting with this thing all day, it's now about 4:30. I got other things to do. I get this thing posted, so I'm gonna call it a night. Right now this corner is supported by this leg here and that temporary one that's leaning against the wall. This one is just hanging where the pump and the jack was. So let's get it back into the proper height. So far so good with the treehouse. You can see it up there. Seems to have snugged back up pretty well. At this point I'm okay walking underneath it. See that edge? It doesn't quite look right because there's a shadow where there's a tongue joint there. But that edge is just basically put back together. Go in there, you can see that little gap. That's the difference of the house, and I'll futz with that once I get the decking secured. First things first. So the next project will be the decking. I'm going to sink the holes, put in the 4x6s, and then we'll get back to work on the treehouse. One comment I'll make is that 4x4 back there is absolutely the easiest post hole I've ever dug. It was wet, soft soil, no roots at all, and I dug it in about 5 minutes. These other 3 are going to be near trees, and I'm assuming they're going to suck. So hopefully the process of digging these holes is easier than the process of jacking up the corner of this thing. But regardless, that is going to be the next step. So for the time being, we'll call it a day.